Headline story this morning, the ANC says it's waiting for the SANDF to shed some light on a private jet which landed at a national key point. Yesterday, a plane chartered by the Gupta wedding party touched down at the Waterkloof Airforce Base. Let's find out what the ANC exactly wants to find out and how this even happened in the first place. I'm joined on the line, always willing to talk to us, and my thanks to the Secretary-General, Gwede Mantashe. Mr. Mantashe, good morning to you. Thank you as always for talking to us.
Morning,
first question this morning, many people wondering, how does the ANC not have any idea how this actually happened?
It's because the ANC is the political party and there is the state and the government that must run the affair of the country, and that's why we're raising the questions. Because a military base and any military installation should be a key point, and it should not be easily accessible, particularly when it is accessed by foreigners. It becomes a big risk for the country.
Have you had any engagement with the Defence Minister on the issue?
We will be talking to the Defence Minister. She's in Addis Ababa. She's coming back. We'll engage her because it is important for us to understand how did it happen. Can you imagine if that plane was going to the Pentagon? What would we be talking about now? And I'm sure that plane wouldn't go to a military base in India.
It also raises the question, of course, if this is able to take place on such a large scale, what else is happening at the country's key points that either the government or the Defence Force is unaware of?
And that is exactly the question we're asking, because it is at the heart of the safety and security of the citizen of the country.
It has been widely reported that the Gupta family is very familiar and friendly with President Zuma. Why not just pick up a telephone and phone the Guptas themselves and ask them how it happened?
No, the reality of the matter is that I'm not going to talk to the Guptas. I'm going to talk to the people who have the authority and the right to defend and protect the country. Guptas have no responsibility to defend the country, and therefore we can't engage the Guptas. We must engage the people who have a responsibility.
I can't help, Mr. Mantashe, but imagine that you, having spoken to you a few times, would be rather upset that no one has come forward, claimed responsibility. You're now having to ask the question.
It is my responsibility as well to want to know so that I can give a clear explanation, one, to the membership of the ANC and the electorate in general, about what has happened. That is my responsibility, and I will do it.
Would you call this a breach of national security?
It's quite a breach. It's a serious one, actually. It's a serious breach of national security because it's an area that should not be easily accessible, Gareth. I can't imagine if we can just walk into a military base as we did, as we saw yesterday. What else is there? Therefore, the country is naked.
Well, a breach of national security is also defined as putting the lives of South African citizens at risk. Are heads going to roll when you do eventually find out who is responsible?
Obviously, those responsible will ensure that heads are rolling because it is reckless to do what has happened yesterday to the superlative degree.
You've called it reckless and a breach of national security. Are we talking
yes,
heads really rolling, jobs being lost, or just a simple slap on the wrist?
No, I don't think it should be a flag in the wrist. If a person has given that permission, that means that person lacks the ability to judge.
We're talking responsibility. Who is ultimately responsible on the record, Mr. Mantashe, for the protection of national key points? Who is your first person you go to?
There's a chain. The security cluster is responsible for a number of those points, depending where it is. But in this case, the responsibility will start from the head of the National Defence Force, the minister, and ultimately the question will have to go to the president as well.
I imagine if the Guptas landed at Waterkloof, they must have a return ticket to go home. Where are they going to be leaving from?
I don't know. We're still asking that question. That's why we're asking the question now and not wait for them to leave.
It obviously won't be Waterkloof, I imagine, based on your comments?
I would imagine so. I will be very, very disturbed if they depart from Waterkloof.
Mr. Mantashe, for the moment, thank you very much. One of the first reactions to the Gupta aircraft landing at Waterkloof Airforce Base, a large party here for the Gupta wedding, also taking place at Sun City. Just getting more clarity on exactly where the ANC stands on this, who they're going to be asking those very tough questions to. We're doing the same thing. Our reporters are on this story. We'll bring you more on that a little bit later in the day. That was ANC Secretary-General Gwede Mantashe. News
that moves.
eNCA.com.